In this particular video, I'm going to go through and demonstrate the user interface controls that can be found on Iconic Strings Professional, which is a solo strings library recorded at Abbey Road Studio 2. Starting with the top menu, in the left-hand corner, we have the LED light. Now this is an indication, when flashing red and green, that your samples are still loading. This should be solid green before you hit play. To the right of this is the CPU meter, which is an indication of how hard our processor is working on our machine. To the right is the disk meter, and this is an indication of how hard our samples drive is working while streaming the samples. Next is the memory meter, and this is an indication of how much content is preloaded into the RAM of our machine. The voices count to the right enables the user to see how many audio threads they're streaming at any one point in time. The refresh option is really useful when you have sticking MIDI notes, and it allows the user to reset the plugin. You can also Option or Alt click this control to reset every single instance. Moving to the middle of the top menu, we have the reverb options, which allows us to set different impulse responses. The MIDI channel option allows the user to choose between 1 to 16 for the incoming MIDI channel. We then have a fine tune control, a fine pan control, and also a master volume. To the right of this, we have the settings option. Below the settings option, we have the collapse and expand toggle, and to the left of this we have the preset menu, where we can skip through different presets, or we can save our custom preset. Opening the drop-down menu with the toggle on the left allows the user to filter on the left-hand side between the instrument section, and only show those presets for that particular instrument group. Or it allows the user to favourite a preset, which then shows up in the starred filter. You can then also preview the sound and hover over the information icon to learn more about that particular patch. You can load a patch by either double-clicking or clicking the load option in the bottom right corner for the patch you have selected. Moving down the interface, we've got the main controls. The control on the left is expression, which operates as a volume control within the master volume. So if I play a chord, we can take that all the way down to 0. This should be used in combination with the dynamics fader on the right hand side, which enables the user to go from a very loud dynamic all the way down to a very soft and quiet dynamic. To the right of this, we have the reverb control, which is how much reverb we're applying to the sound. We then have the release control, which when increased allows the user to extend the ends of the notes. When this is decreased, it shortens the ends of the notes. The tightness control allows the user to cut into the start of the samples. This means that when you're playing short articulations, you can make the response much snappier when you're quantizing to the grid. When increased, this might feel a little bit unnatural, so dial this back for more of a natural, loose feel. We then have the Vibrato Control, which is only available for the individual longs patches. We then have a compressor, and we also have a speed control. The speed control is only available for legato patches, and what this does is it allows you to decide how much of the legato transition you hear. At the bottom of the interface, we have 4 different options which enable us to see different views. The first page is the technique view. This is where we can click and choose different techniques. These techniques can also be key switched, and the method of key switching is chosen by the trigger option, where we can see there's an option to change via CC, velocity range, MIDI channel, the speed of how fast we play, or also a program change. Underneath this is where we decide the parameter of that particular switching method. So if I was to choose this to CC, we can then see the parameters are CC. The Activate option decides whether that particular technique you're switching to is latched or is just normal. When latched, this will very quickly snap back to the original articulation you had selected. The round robin options are only available for the short articulations. From the round robin drop-down menu, we can choose to have all 8 available to us, or we can limit this to say 3. Reset on transport enables the user to reset the round robin cycle every time we hit play in our DAW. The Reset From key enables the user to place key switches on the keyboard in order to toggle the different round robins. This means if there's a particular round robin that you don't like, you can easily key switch it out. From the Options menu, we can decide to borrow round robins from a neighboured zone, which gives us more than 8, or we can layer up those round robins for a much thicker, denser sound. We then have a transpose option, and unique to Abbey Road 2, we then have the Boeing Patterns, which enables the user to decide which round robins bow upwards and which ones bow downwards. Above the techniques, we also have the Technique Editor, which enables the user to add in more articulations to that particular patch, rearrange those particular articulations, or remove them. Similar to the preset view, we can also see some more information about that sound and also preview those sounds. Moving through the views, we then have the Signal Mixer. Using the Signal Mixer, we can change the volume of individual signals. We can also choose to toggle these on and off at the bottom. Directly above these toggles, if you have a multi-output version of the plugin loaded, we can also choose which output of the plugin these are assigned to. You can set this in the settings to be a maximum of 64 different outputs. It's worth noting that similar to Abbey Road 1, Abbey Road 2 also contains microphone groups, which means when you load a signal that is not part of that same group, the other group will turn on. For example, I now have Vintage 2 stereo mix loaded, but if I enable mix number 1, the Vintage 2 toggle will turn off. To the left, we have the ability to save a mixer preset, load one we've previously saved, and we have the ability to reinitialize the signal mixer. If we turn the advanced view off, we get a much more simple view of the signal mixer, which is where we can choose to simply drag close or far. As we can see for this particular articulation, I have the ambient mics enabled, and I have global enabled also. Now, if I turn global off, what that means is when I now change articulation, I can set different microphone levels for different techniques. And if I change back to the original articulation, we can see that the signals are different. This is useful for setting different levels across articulations, or perhaps having a slightly drier sound on the shorts versus the longs. To the right hand side, in the top right hand corner, we have a padlock to lock the mixer from changing. We then also have a stereo width and pan control for the close and vintage signals, and we also have a left and right swap, where we can swap the left and right signals around. Moving forward, we have the effects controls. These are also the effects that are displayed on the knob at the top. Brand new to Abbey Road 2, we have this new feature, which is the Arranger. The Arranger allows the user to play the ensemble patches freely and have the Arranger decide which inputted notes go to which particular instrument. You can do this in either a polyphonic manner or a monophonic manner. This is determined by the multi-voice toggle in the bottom left-hand corner. Above the multi-voice option, we have the different instruments, and here is where we set which controls on the Arranger are currently active. For example, now I'm controlling the range of the viola by using these white toggles on the bottom. Now, when in polyphonic mode like now, I can also choose the roll-off volume curve for each individual instrument. This will give you a much smoother transition between the different sections. Now, when in monophonic mode, because some of these instruments have very similar ranges, there is a note priority which enables the arranger to decide exactly which instrument plays which notes. Now, if you'd like to learn more about that particular note priority, please see our support site where there's more information, or also the user manual for this library. Now, in the top right hand corner, we have these settings options. The first setting is the dynamics control. Now, this allows us to decide how that dynamics control behaves when using short articulations. We then have the velocity controls, which allows us to adapt the plugin's velocity sensitivity to the touch of your keyboard. Use the reset or clear options for the CC mappings to reset the plugin CC values to be unassigned or back to their defaults. The short release option allows us to time the release triggers, or have them untimed. The sync to tempo function isn't available in this library. If you'd like to learn more about these general settings, which are available on all Spitfire plugin products, please do see the user manual. And if you have any further questions, please get in touch with us at spitfireaudio.com/support. Thanks.
Thanks for watching Spitfire Clips. Let us know if it was too long, too short, too fast, or too slow in the comments down below. Hit like if we answered your question, and subscribe for more clips, tips, tricks, and exclusive Spitfire content.